This one is kind of a continuation of the 7-1 stuff, and the worksheet that I wanted you to do, I think, is connected to the 7-1 worksheet. So we're going to be solving some more, and there's some things I want you to notice here. For example, grab a pen here. This specific piece will tell me if I should use radians or degrees. So here I should use degrees because it gives me in degrees, and it wants all of them between 0 and 360. So there could be more than one answer. So when you're looking at these, something that is totally confusing is this cosine thing here. So a lot of times if you just take it out and just mark it with x, so square root of 2 times x minus 1 equals 0. You guys know how to solve this, even though that has the icky square root of 2 thing in it. So just like we would solve any one-sided equation, square root of 2x's, and then I have to divide by square root of 2. So then I have x equals 1 over the square root of 2. And we know that on our unit circle that this is not okay. So we rationalize the denominator and get square root of 2 over 2. That's not just x though, because remember I kind of like crossed off cosine x in my brain just so that I wouldn't get confused. But now I kind of got to write it back in there. So I've got cosine of x equals square root of 2 over 2. And this means I need to find the angle. And remember I want angle in degrees. I want to find probably two of them whose cosine, or x value, remember it goes cosine, comma sine, whose x value is square root of 2 over 2. So one of them is going to be right here. And then the other one is going to be right here. So my answer for x is going to be pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4. And those should be my two answers for this one. So a second example here, this one says for all real values of x. So this is something that was mentioned, I think, when we did unit circle, and I didn't have you guys really focus on it, but I think you can at this point. So I've got sine squared x minus 1 equals 0. So if you don't like that, you could just say x squared minus 1 equals 0, because sometimes that makes it a little bit easier for me to like think about what I have to do. And this is perfect squares, so I can factor this into x minus 1 and x plus 1 equals 0. And that would mean that x would be 1 and negative 1. So when I solved, remember I didn't just have x though, I had sine x, so I'm going to put sine back in there. I need to know all of the places where sine is either 1 or negative 1. So sine is the y value. So here's one spot it would be. And here's another spot it would be. And if I kept going, I could add 180 and I'd be back here. Think of those coterminal angles. So I can write this as one answer. X is pi over 2 plus every rotation halfway around, and you could use any letter here, kn, meaning every time I go halfway around the circle, I get another answer. Or you would maybe say 90 plus 180. Okay. Would also work. These both work. And that just means that every time I go halfway around the circle, I get another answer. So I get an answer. If I took 270 and added 180, I'd get an answer. Add 180, get another answer. And I would be there every time thinking of those coterminal angles. So this is going to be my last example for this, and this one's the most complicated. First off, it wants our answer in radians. So we're going to answer in radians because it gave us this clue. Next, though, is that this one has 2 sine squared x minus sine squared x minus 1 equals 0. This is a factoring problem. And especially when I come to factoring problems, I have to take the sign out, or I can't see what's happening with all those letters in the way, so I just write it like this. This is going to be one of those AC method, where you take A times C. So I get negative 2, and factors of negative 2 that add to negative 1 are minus 2 and plus 1. So then you split that middle one up. Remember, this goes into these pieces. And then you cut it in half. Factor out of the first half, I have a 2x. And I'm going to factor just a positive 1 out of this. And I know I did it right because these two are the same. So my factors are 2x plus 1 and x minus 1. So my answers would be x equals 1 and x equals negative 1/2. You actually have to solve those. going back to our factoring. So this one's going to actually have a lot of answers because now I need to know, where does sine x equal negative 1/2? Sine is the y value, remember? And where does sine equal 1? So let's find them. So the y value being negative would be, here's one of them, and here's another one of them. So that's for this. X would equal 7 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. And then where does sine of x equal 1? The y value equals 1 here. So then also at pi over 2. And this could have probably 4 answers, maybe. I think 4 is probably the most we get at, but you can have many answers, so make sure that you're finding all of the answers that you can.